happy Monday. Welcome to the Pitchfork Chronicles. I am Uncle Tats. I'm here with Donald and Yzma, and it has been probably one of the most dreaded weekends Yankee fans were hoping for, or not hoping for, rather, as the news is so bad, it's hard to even wrap your head around it. It's you always fear that question. You know, what's next? Like, what else can the baseball gods pile on top of us fans, on top of what was already such a, for some, a mediocre off season or a crappy off season? Some were happy with the off season. We were happy with some moves. We always felt that there was stuff that were positions to be filled, left to be desired. And what we really desire right now is that our ace, even though he's, it's slated that he is going to have surgery. I have not seen, the last I saw was a report from Brian Hoke that he is having surgery, but did not specify what the surgery was. So, you're hearing Tommy John thrown around a lot. And really, if that is what's going to happen, sorry, kids, but I got to say it, we're fucked. We are screwed. How are we supposed to go into the season? Because last year, when Cole started the season on the IL, we had Luis Heel to kind of carry the torch. And we don't have him either. So, I made the joke on the upper deck yesterday with Lynn and Chris, and thank you, Chris, for helping us out when we were short-handed for the show. You are the man, so I do want to thank him for that. But I made the joke, which kind of wasn't a joke. Fried has to now bring his max, was my joke, because we're going to need him to fill some pretty big shoes in his rookie season as a Yankee. Because he's just coming into our system, learning our catching staff, learning how our coaches are going to operate, learning how to pitch to the ballpark. These are all things that come into play. And when you don't have Gerrit Cole, it really comes to the question that you put in the title, Donald. Is the season already over? How far back can we start and still be able to really dominate in baseball and get back to the World Series to finish what we started from last year? So now we're not going to start the season with Soto. We're not going to start the season with Cole. We're not going to start the season with Heel. We're not going to start the season with Schmidt, I believe. There's just so many. It's just another hole. The bright Yankee roster, it looks like freaking Swiss cheese right now, and it stinks. Donald, I know you spent a lot of time about this on Saturday, but for anybody that did not catch it, it's shame on you. How are you feeling about the loss of Cole?
I mean, I'm glad that I slept on it without having any huge proclamations. First thing yesterday, once the news kind of broke that Tommy John surgery is recommended, I'm glad I could sleep on it and give you guys like a nuanced answer. So, to answer your question, is our season already over? Absolutely, unequivocally. Yes, we're fucked. No. That was a little bit of levity. Here's the situation. From what I understand, this is something that's been in the works for a while. I think they kind of knew that he required some kind of surgery. I think it was even recommended last season, but they managed to stave it off because last year was their all-in year with Soto, etc. So they managed to stave it off, and it worked out okay. But it's come back, and so here we are. But that's probably why they went so aggressive for Max Fried. That's where they allocated most of their money for Max Fried because he is an ace. Let's not diminish Max Fried from all the terrible news that we're getting. Max Fried is a genuine ace. He's been one of the best pitchers in baseball since 2020. In fact, I think he leads the league in ERA over that span. Like, he has been a phenomenal pitcher, um, and he's definitely an ace caliber starter. So it's not like it's not like the top half of our rotation is garbage. It's really the middle to bottom part which is a mess, which speaks to the depth that the Yankees have, the mediocre farm system that we have, and the and generally the poor allocation of resources, which has been an issue since I would say since about 2019. It's been a misallocation of resources, bad trade after 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 bad trade. And now we're in this situation where there's not much depth, and we're going to have to kind of claw together a rotation when 2 weeks ago we had the best rotation in baseball. Now, 2 weeks later, you can't even claim that. I can't even claim that we're even top 10 now. So that's and when you pair that with the fact that I don't like this batting lineup, for the most part, and there's no depth in any department at any point in this organization. There was zero depth anywhere. We don't have a third baseman, not much depth there. Don't really have any depth behind Goldschmidt at first base, and Goldschmidt's almost 40. No depth there either. An Uber driver is our best backup catcher right now. And we don't really have a left fielder. Dominguez is a center fielder trying to learn how to play left field on the fly. There's not really a left fielder there. DH, don't really have a DH that can step in with Stanton now because we don't have any power from the right side as well. What a mess. What a terrible, terrible misallocation of resources. And it's been years in the making. And that's why I was so worried when Juan Soto chose to go to the Mets. Why? Because Soto helped cover up for a lot of the lack of depth. And now that he's not there, now those issues are exposed. Poor decision making from the top. So let's just have a look at this rotation. So obviously Max Fried's now your number one. He's a number one in Atlanta, so it's not like he's never done this before. He's a number one in Atlanta, and he did a great job over there. So, we do have an ace, so that's fine. Number two, Rodon. I mean, who could say that you trust Rodon? If anyone in the chat trusts Rodon, then you guys are braver than me. I don't trust Rodon. He's okay. I don't think he's a number two. He was a number two a couple of years ago. He's not a number two now. But
he's more of a 3, maybe 4. But he did stay healthy last year, so that
he stayed healthy last year. But I didn't like him in the playoffs. I thought he kind of choked in the playoffs. So he's not really a number two. He's got great stuff, but he's not really a number two. I think Duran's got it right. I trust Rodon to be amazing for 10 starts and mediocre in 20. You're right. I think that's a really good way of breaking it down. He's going to be amazing for 10 starts and mediocre for 20. That's a very good way of putting it, if he's healthy as well. So that's a good point. So then he's your number two. The number three, Clarke Schmidt. If you guys trust that bulky back, then you guys are braver than me because he's not pitched a single pitch in spring yet. And he's going to be doing some side sessions up until penciled in around about April 9th. That's kind of where they're looking at. It seems a little bit up in the air to me. So I don't really trust that, but he has to be healthy. There's no other option. He's your number three. He's a very good number three. He is a very good number three. I don't have any doubts about that, if he's healthy. Unfortunately, he's not healthy right now. So then your number four starter is going to be Marcus Stroman. And Marcus Stroman is someone that we've been desperate to trade. And he's someone whose contract we've been hoping that and wishing and praying, well, the Yankees have been praying, that would just suddenly evaporate so they don't have to be on the hook for it. But you are on the hook for it because you gave him that contract, and it was a mistake, and it's a bad contract, and now you basically have to have him as your fourth starter. despite Hal Steinbrenner holding you hostage 2 weeks ago, saying you have to move it before you can add any more to your payroll. So that's a mess in itself. He's your 4th starter now. He's barely touching 88 mile per hour on the gun, and I don't trust him. Plus, I don't really like the fact that he's trolling our fan base, but that's another thing. So then you've got him as your 4th starter. He used to be a great 4th starter. He's not a good 4th starter now. 5th starter, you're probably looking at, I would say, Will Warren.
I prefer Will Warren to start the season.
Yeah, me too. I think he's earned it. He's pitched great, got 1 ERA through spring. He's been excellent. I think he's earned it. And then after him is Carrasco. And there you go. That's your rotation. There's no depth there. If I guess if Schmidt's injured, then Carrasco will slot in that spot. So there we are. That's it. There's not much depth there. Frank Rivera's got a comment here. Donald, I commend you for saying Soto covered a lot of the team's weaknesses. Too many of us fans are not being impartial and admitting he was a Band-Aid. That's it. That's exactly it. He was a Band-Aid. He was a generational Band-Aid. The greatest Band-Aid ever that managed to help carry us to a World Series. But if you look at it, we had so many positions that were below average last year, and he covered for it last year. You know, last year we didn't have a left fielder that was league average. We didn't have a first baseman that was league average, and we didn't have a third baseman that was league average. That's 3 positions. Sorry, Gleyber Torres, but he wasn't league average at that position either. That's almost 4 positions, and he basically covered by himself. And now that he's gone, we didn't really address some of those positions. And again, we're just kind of like, we didn't even address third base. So, and first base was still up in the air. So he was a great Band-Aid. And now that Band-Aid is gone, those issues are now laying bare such poor decisions by Brian Cashman and the front office and their analytics staff not being able to identify kind of depth talent that you can bring in on a reasonable contract that can help in these positions. So I'm sorry, man. I'm not letting the Yankees off with this. He can't help. I don't blame them for Cole getting hurt. That's not really their fault. They've done the best they can with that. That's not their fault. But I do blame them for their poor roster building, which has been years in the making.
Yeah, I know we're throwing out names like Soto, and I just saw, Verdugo's name. The issue, we're talking, we've been talking about holes with the offense, right? But the worry more today is really with the pitching, right? Because our pitching depth is kind of lackluster, right? Even though we have veteran arms like Stroman that can hopefully rise to the occasion. Guys like Cookie Carrasco, who's been around a while, understands the pressures of dealing, trying to pitch in a weaker rotation. He's done that in his career, so he may be more mentally equipped to step in as a starter. But when you get to how everything is going to flow, I mean, Warren, I still say Warren would have to be the guy. Warren's got to be it. But a lot of it comes down to this is pretty much Cashman's fault for, I'm gonna throw Hal in there too. Hal and Cashman and their budget, because they have that unwritten salary cap in their system when we all know that they can go over. And I understand with the tax cap, cap issue, but if this is not the time to worry about that. Right now, you have to, and let's be honest, it's a very weak American League. If this was a National League team, you lick your wounds, you cross your fingers, you hope for the best, because there's a very dominant league. The American League was almost handed to the Yankees on a silver platter. And with a very suspect rotation, this is going to suck. I just can't wrap my head around it. It's really going to suck because at least we had the faith that our rotation was going to be able to carry the team while the offense figured it out. While we figured out who was going to be the right leadoff guy, the right cleanup guy, and now it's just to the point where, right now, what do you do? Because now the pitching has to rely on the offense. They have to depend on each other. We don't have a dominant side of the ball right now.
Oh no, I would maybe argue the back end of our bullpen is the strongest, and obviously Max Fried. Maybe the top half of our lineup, if you're being very, very generous. But there's just and here's another aspect to this: we're still only 2 weeks in the spring. The season hasn't even started yet. There will be inevitable injuries in the regular season. There's going to be some groin strains. There's a ball's going to hit you somewhere when you're swinging the bat, and then you're down for two. And that's the scary thing. The Yankees have no depth now. Can you imagine with any further injuries, which will happen inevitably? Where are they going to turn to? And this gives me 2023 vibes. I'm just seeing 2023 vibes because, again, talking about the lack of depth in this roster. I do have to disagree with Sean Browning, though. He's saying here it's not their fault for G. Kind of is. Here's why.
It's everybody's fault.
It is kind of the Yankees' fault for Stan, because as I argued in my podcast on Saturday, you guys got to check it out, but they knew about this since October. Right, and then you also read that he hadn't picked up a bat since January, right? So since October, the Yankees had every opportunity to get on top of this, but they didn't do it. They could have mitigated risk at minimum. They could have mitigated risk by signing another righty power bat to some extent, right? That could give you. At least a break with his bench that could help out on the bench and then play DH. They didn't do that either. They knew he was hurt since October. The first thing I would have done as a GM is after Stanton came back from his holiday, I'd be like, Stanton, how are you feeling? Are you able to swing a bat right now? And if the answer is no, then get on top of that. Get those PCP injections. Get those injections in early. See how it takes. If not, then get him the surgery at some point in the winter, and then he's guaranteed to be okay by probably around about April.
Yep.
And they didn't do it. They sat on it. I mean, that for me, that's a malpractice. I don't understand how this is being missed by journalists. Journalists should be on top of that because the Yankees have already let it slip. They can't lie that they didn't know about this. They knew about this since October, right? And if he didn't pick up the bat since January, and this is another thing. So obviously he swung the bat in January. He couldn't do it. He's saying that he can't pick up everyday items right now. He can't bend over to get a cup of coffee right now, right? That's what he said. He's saying that. I just read the article. I read the article out on Saturday. He says that he can't pick up everyday things right now, right? That's very not good. So if they knew about this as far back as January and still did nothing, that's malfeasance. If he knew about this since January and didn't tell the Yankees, that's on him. So there is a miscommunication somewhere. The front office didn't do anything, and that says to me that that's on Hal Steinbrenner because he's got this budget that screwed us, and he's already failed the Yankee fans before the season even started. If that's the case, so there's a lot of blame to go around, and I believe it is malfeasance.
And that's what I'm saying.
I know it's malfeasance, but it is. I can't say it any other way. I think it is. I think it's malpractice. And I think it starts with Hal Steinbrenner with his budget, and then it goes to Brian Cashman for not mitigating risk and being active with Stanton since October. You need to be on top of this. You can't, once the season's over, you can't just lose the guy's number for 4 months. You got to be on top of this because there's a season coming up. And especially if you know that you've lost Soto, that even makes the need to have Stanton fully healthy absolutely necessary. And they still sat in their hands and they still did nothing. That is hugely worrying to me. And another thing, back to Garrett Cole, if they kind of knew that he needed Tommy John surgery at some point within this contract, wouldn't you have thought that they would have been more active to add more depth arms, more depth pieces, instead of waiting and not spending a single dime since mid-December? An organization like the New York Yankees, let me be clear here, have not spent a single dime on this ball club since the middle of December. That is a failure. That is a complete and total travesty.
Especially knowing all the holes that we had. And it's the reason the reason why the blame for Stanton goes all around is because, like we said, you just pointed out again, Doc, like we knew about this since October. He went into the postseason with aches and pains. And you know how important he is to October. Like, as soon as the season ended, let him take his little vacation. And then as soon as you get back, you go right into the medical lab. We're going to figure out what the hell is wrong. Because we have no time to wait. We have next season to play. You're seeing a lot of, I've seen comments, some here, some on social media. Injuries are part of the game. The Yankees aren't the only team that's having injury issues. Let their fan bases worry about it. I'll worry about the Yankee injury history. Because my problem with this whole thing is, yes, athletes get hurt as part of the trade. But why does it seem like it's every freaking year? There are issues with injuries on this team because of lack of care for these guys. Like, they wait until the last possible moment. They can never handle an injury properly. No. Like you always say, here's the Yankee language. And consigliere, thank you.
Hey, let's go. Consigliere, gifting a membership for 3 months.
So, there's always this language, when they say it's going to be a couple of days, he's going to be out for a month. If they say he's going to be out for a month, he's going to be out for, he's going to be out for the season. If they rule him out for the season, he'll be back in September. It's like they can never get the injury reports right. And they always try to pussyfoot around the media because they don't want to hear the backlash of the fans. Meanwhile, they're hearing it anyway. So why don't they just be completely transparent of what's going on? Mm-hmm. It's like they try. The more they try to cover their asses, the more they get exposed. Just how negligent they are with their players' health. I think that's the biggest question. That's the biggest issue. It's the negligence of their health. Because every team is going to have an injury issue.
That's true,
right? We're not saying that it's only the Yankees. But Jesus Christ, why is it always the same Yankees? The same Yankees always have the issue. So why are we not looking into, like, let's completely revamp this player's training regimen in the offseason? This way we can maybe limit the risk of him getting hurt. Because I don't think you can completely eliminate it. That's my take on that with the medical staff. I don't care how many times they change the medical staff. If the organization is not going to take charge of what these players are doing in the offseason, next season, the same players are going to have an issue. Enough's enough.
Yeah. Do you know what we haven't done? We haven't gone into this chat. And there's some really good
and that is malfeasance. That's negligence.
There we go. So let's have a look at some of the comments from our guys. So once again, I do want to personally thank Consigliere for the 3-month membership. So thank you so much. Stevie B with an interesting comment here. Donald, if we re-sign Soto, we'd be in a worse position than we're dealing with now. I disagree with that for 2 reasons. One, it looks like you're going to be blaming Soto for that. Dude, if the Yankees did nothing after extending Juan Soto, then that's on them. That's not on Soto. That's on this imaginary budget that Hal Steinbrenner set. So again, that's not really on Soto. 2, I also disagree because if we had Soto, then you have 2 generational bats in this lineup, and then we're not too worried about this batting lineup. You could field the little sisters of the poor, but you still have Aaron Judge and Juan Soto at the top half of your team, and you're going to be okay. So at least we have an excellent offense to make up for the injuries with Stanton and the pitching staff. And it's not like Soto would have stopped you from bringing in some starting pitching, like maybe a Walker Buehler, cheaper one than maybe a Max Fried. So the Yankees could have done other things as well as extend Soto. That's one of the great myths that Hal Steinbrenner has managed to filter into the Yankee fans' heads, that we should just be grateful for just like one signing a year. No, we're the Yankees. Yep. There shouldn't be this kind of budget that he's holding us hostage to. So I would just disagree with you there, Stevie B.
Before you continue, we do have to pull this up. Consigliere, Yankee Boy 7, Joel, my guy, gifting 10 memberships to everybody. Joel, that is very gracious and appreciated. If you did get one, just make sure that you give Joel a thank you, because being a member as the season gets into swing is going to be bringing in some perks like none other. Special chats, pregame, postgame shows, depending on schedule, will be for members only. And as the memberships grow, we'll also be bringing back the After Dark show that everybody enjoyed. That is on ice as a members only chat. So let's get these memberships going. It greatly helps support the channel. And we appreciate everybody that does keep up with their memberships month by month. You guys are not forgotten. Now with this question from Ken, if we were in charge, what's next?
Right. That's give me your answer.
I hit the panic button. No. Like that meme with the guy, with that character that just runs around with the flames all around. Yeah. But no, I'm not. I'm not really panicking. I'm pissed off, but I'm not panicking. I think the next move is, I think the Yankees need to really insert more faith in some of their farm players and give them the chance that they're longing for. If there was ever a season to start the way this is going to look, now is the time. It buys us more time to find out who Dominguez is going to be. It's going to give us more time to find out who Warren's going to be. Peraza, Pereira is going to, I think, is going to come into play. So those are the players that I think it bides it gives the question marks of the roster a little more room to find out who they are. I think I like the Max Fried move. And I think this is going to be one of those. Well, this is why. Because now with Cole down, at least you have an ace of a staff. He may have been the number 2, but he'd be a number 1 on a lot of staff. So it's going to give Max Fried a chance to pick his game up. We did not move Stroman, so that's unfortunately, but fortunately, going to help the rotation.
It's a weird one.
Because it's a double-edged sword. Then we could have moved them and then really been in trouble. Which is why it's hard to move pitching in the spring. I said, Donald, we've argued about it. I don't like moving pitching depth before the season starts.
No.
If the move is right, I'll concede. But just to trade a player, I think is ludicrous.
I agree, and that's a great word choice, ludicrous.
So, I think that the Yankees need, and the fans are going to have to buy into this too. This may be that season where the expectations are really going to have to be lowered. This is no longer a World Series team.
Facts.
It's not.
Exactly.
Right? Miracles happen. I get it. I know it's a football line, but any given Sunday, right?
Right. I get what your point is.
It's, the worst teams are going to win 60. The best teams are going to lose 60. That's just the way, But I think that they're really in a position where this is going to be a where are we heading season. And I'm okay with that because it's not like, we're halfway through the season and it's collapsing and this high we've been riding is gone. We went into the off season right away with some disappointments from the front office. So the expectations had already been lowered. So this is just kind of just riding out the storm. And so that's my take on it.
Yeah, you know what? I wouldn't panic either. And I agree with you. There's no chance of making a World Series with this team. There's absolutely no chance. So that's out of the question. So, but there's still a season to be played.
Yes.
And there's still things that can be learned, and there's still things that can be done, and you can still make yourself a competitive team. You can still make yourself a wild card team. Heck, you could even get lucky and maybe win the division. But there's not too much hope of a playoff run with this team. So let's look bigger picture with the Yankees rather than short term. We have a couple of prospects that are coming through that need to be wrapped up in cotton wool and not traded under any circumstances. Even though we are desperate right now. Lombard is out of the question. Spencer Jones is completely out of the question. Those two guys are completely out of the question. They are staying no matter what. No matter what anyone's offering, asking for, they are staying, right? Because I am not making crazy moves right now for a team that has no chance of winning a World Series. Just to cover your asses for poor decisions that you made back in December. So that's not what I'm going to do. What I'm going to do is very similar to what Tats is doing. I'm going to learn. I'm going to learn what we have with these prospects, with Peraza, with Oswaldo Cabrera, with even Pereira, heck, Ben Rice.
Yep.
I'd give it these
Escara. Let's see how he grows.
I'm giving it best to JC Escara. I'm calling him Uber driver, but to be honest, he's been one of our best bats this spring. He's been fantastic. So maybe there's something there. So I'm going to continue to learn these. If I were in charge, I'd continue to learn these things. What I would do is I would go to Hal Steinbrenner and say, bro, this budget that you're putting us under is ludicrous. And you're doing a disservice to me, doing my job, and also the fans who pay an extraordinary amount of money to support this team. So I would still try and add a righty bat, but it's not going to be a game-changing bat. That ship sailed, right? But at least add another bat that can at least help this lineup a little bit. And then look at later in spring to see what shakes off other teams' rosters and add pitching depth that way for the back end of the rotation. And you could still have a reasonable season. So is our season already over in terms of World Series championships and competing with the Dodgers and all that stuff? Yes, it's over. But for making a run at maybe a wild card or a playoff spot before getting knocked out, no, we can still do that. We can still very much make a run at a playoff team, but the rest of this lineup needs to somehow stay healthy. And And that's what I would do, man. I'd be smart. I wouldn't panic because your ship sailed. You can't really make any massive moves now anyway. So I would continue to learn what we have with our farm system and look to 2026 and really, really go all in on 2026. That's what I would do. I would go to Hal Steinbrenner and say, a ton of money's coming off the books next year. There's a ton of really good free agents that can make us a World Series team next year. Let's bring in a new training staff. Let's really attack free agency next year. Go Garrett Cole that's going to be healthy for next year, and let's go all in and win a World Championship 2026. 2025, let's lower expectations, make smart moves, don't give up our farm system because our farm system is already weak as it is. We're already 24th, and there's no point giving up valuable farm assets for just to panic and to try and put together a competitive team. That ship sailed. Your poor decision making has come back to bite you. You have to live with it. You made your bed. You have to lie in it. I'm afraid, Yankees, and that's what I'm going to do. But I'm not going to panic. There's no reason to panic. It's it just means that you have to lower your expectations. But let's learn what we have in our farm system and really look to develop guys. That means Dominguez has as long a leash as he possibly wants now in left field. Peraza, let's give him as many opportunities as possible. Let's do these things, and then kind of make a plan to be really aggressive in 2026. That's what I would do.
Yeah, I want to get to some of these comments from you guys and appreciate every single one that's dropping the comments and the questions. We, our last show, Donald and I together, we really, really enjoyed interacting through the comments. So we've really decided that we're going to make more of an effort to be more consistent with that towards the end of the shows and just make it about what you guys want us to answer. So if you want to drop your comments in, it's very easy. It's very free. Just hit the subscribe button. A minute later, you'll be able to join into the chat and drop your comments in for us to respond to you guys. I wanted to get this one from Lou. And goes, he's making a comment. It was never a World Series team this year.
Facts.
No, it wasn't.
People would disagree with you, but I completely agree with you. I was on that board months ago.
I'm saying when you start the season, every team, manager, owner, fan, the expectation going into every season is to win it all, right? And then once the season starts, you evaluate your roster, you see how the talent is around from other teams, and you adjust your expectations from there. What I was saying is, when I said that this is not longer a World Series team, it's because with that healthy rotation and the strength of our bullpen, was going to weather the storm for a lot of the offensive deficiencies. So it still kept us as a World Series favorite. That's no longer the case when you start in the season without Cole.
They got a membership question, Uncle Tats, fellas. Am I the only one that thinks the Yankees will be bad defensively? All right, good to see Big Blue in the Bronx. You guys have got to sub to his channel. He'll give us all the info on the Yankees and the Giants. So, and he's my friend as well. So salute to you, man. Uncle Tats, do you think we're going to be bad defensively?
No, I don't. I think that was the only thing they've done right this offseason was really focusing more on the defense and putting guys in their proper position, with the exception of Dominguez. I think he's the only one right now that's going to start the season without being in his natural position. Maybe Peraza at third. Maybe he's better suited for short. We'll see how the timeline goes into the future. But no, I think that we're going to be fine up defensively. I'm not worried about it at all.
I would say that left field is still a huge question mark. It's actually it's quite jarring to see him try and play left field right now. Let's be honest. So I do think that that's going to be an issue. I don't think we're going to be bad defensively, but I think fundamentally, I don't see any better fundamental wise than we were last year. Because I've been still seeing a ton of mistakes. And I do think that Volpe is overrated defensively. But he's not a bad defender, so I wouldn't call him a bad defender. But I do think he's slightly overrated defensively. Because of his bad arm. But I think we're by and large going to be okay defensively. Third base, we're going to be fine defensively because Oswaldo Cabrera is a decent third baseman and Peraza is a brilliant third baseman. But will the Yankees actually play Peraza? Because I still have my doubts. But yeah, I don't think we're going to be bad defensively, but offensively, we're gonna stink.
It's going to be a strong.
They're going to stink.
Yeah, we're not going to break any home run records this year.
No.
All right, let's move to this member comment from Sunil. Who's taking Cole's place in the rotation? I don't mean to ask about sequence here. But we know Free just bumped up to the opening day starter and Rendon behind him. Who's next?
Sunil, you've been watching this show since the start. I already broke it down. I gave you the 5 starters. Come on, man. Right, max coverage. Salute to you. Let's see here. Okay, what else we got? Cold Italian Pizza says that he agrees with you, Uncle Tats. Christopher, got a Met fan, but he's salute, man. We really appreciate the comment here. Hey, guys, sorry to hear about Cole. I wish him a speedy recovery. Thanks, man. I do appreciate that. We got a Dodger fan that's absolutely loving this. He's laughing it up, man. And I have to tip my cap. You know, I'm loving this like McDonald's. Salute, man. And congratulations on next year's World Championship. This is going to happen, let's face it.
Just real quick,
need to trade for Mike King. I would love Mike King, but it's going to be too expensive. It's almost not worth it.
Yeah.
We don't have the farm arms to really give up to get a Mike King right now. And that's what I'm saying. That's one of the first things I'm not going to do is I'm not going to trade away valuable prospects just to save our asses. It just seems kind of pointless. The time to have done that, and I keep saying this, and there's not enough people that are beating this drum. There's a couple of people in social media, and a shout out to them. But the time to have done that was last July when we could have won a World Series. That was when you go all in. That's when you give up prospects that you might not want to do in order to win you a World Championship because you were right there. That's when you do it. You don't do it now. It's too late now. So unless Mike King is available for a really pretty cheap return, then I wouldn't do it. Monty is the best trade option for a starter as of now. I would not dismiss him. I'd bring him back. Not quite sure what the cost would be, but I would do it.
And then let's get to this next comment here from Doran Stolbert. Welcome to the Pitchside Chronicles. I believe this is your first show with seeing you in the chat. So hope you are enjoying the show. Monty is the best trade option for a starter as of now. Donald, to tell you, I was not too thrilled he was moved to begin with. But I think as desperate as Arizona would be to move him after their public outrage, it'd be easy to maybe kind of bamboozle Arizona to take most of the salary. But as desperate as we are for pitching, I would see what else would be available before bringing back somebody where there's already going to be tension. I still don't think that there's any love, between Monty and Cashman for the way everything went down.
Possibly, but Tats, if I were you, man, I'd be speaking from the chest because you were like, I hate this Harrison Bader trade. I hate this trade.
I did. I really did.
You were right. Got Alex with another comment here. Salute, man. Sorry for the spam, but I'm losing hope on the season. Amen to that. Didn't like the Goldie signing. Me neither. No third baseman. Absolutely. Plus, Stanton Cole injuries look bad. We wasted their prime. Exactly. And that circles back to my point I mean, to be honest, the window was last year. That was the window. You know, they staved off the Tommy John for Garrett Cole to pitch, to give all his last final bullets before surgery last year. You know, they got lucky that Heel was just amazing and he was able to pitch the whole year, which is unprecedented for someone that came off Tommy John surgery with the amount of innings that he ate. You had Juan Soto, you had Aaron Judge that were giving you a combined 100 home runs and freaking like 250 RBIs. You had that. That was your window. You had Stanton, who's just ridiculous in the clutch, the most amazing clutch players I've ever seen. That was your window. And the Yankees sat on their hands in July. They allowed Kopech to go to the Dodgers. They allowed Tommy Edman to go to the Dodgers. They allowed Jack Flaherty to go to the Dodgers. Even though you had a deal in place for Flaherty, you still allowed him to go to the Dodgers. That is why we didn't win a world championship, because you didn't address the needs when we needed to be addressing them in July. Yeah, we brought in Jazz Chisholm, nice, but there were still other moves we needed to make, and we didn't do it, and that's on them. And sorry, you closed your own window, and now you're looking at this, and they're getting what they deserve. Everything that happened right now is everything that they deserve. That's why I'm not giving them any sympathy. The Yankees deserve this. They left third base open. They could have addressed third base. They didn't do it. Bregman was waiting until February. He went to the Red Sox. The Yankees could have brought him in at any point. They didn't do it. That's on them. So they don't have a third baseman because of that.
Yeah,
they
but there's
a better depth at starting pitching because they knew about Garrett Cole's bad elbow. Did they do it? No, they didn't. They did nothing. They've known since October that Stanton had two bad elbows, and he can't pick up a cup of coffee right now. They've known about that since October. They did nothing. So I have no sympathy for the Yankees right now. None. They don't deserve a penny from me right now until I see some severe, serious determination that they actually want to be better. But they also don't deserve any sympathy from me. So I'm sorry. I'm gonna give you guys straight to the heart facts right now, because the way that they handled this is a massive cluster fuck.
And with that presser from a couple years ago, I forget if it was Cashman or Bohm, and it was like, oh, the league caught up to us. You know, you sat back and you let it pass you by. That's what you freaking did. And Demon D, what's going on? Long time no see. Yes, the season is over. It sucks. It does suck, Demon. It really does, because there was still so much, coming off the World Series, even losing Soto. We still had that World Series high where we were like, if they were willing to open the books like that for Soto, that it gave us faith, blind faith, obviously, that they were willing to open up the books and really put a team together to get back and finish what they had started, and they didn't. David, go ahead, Donald.
No, let's so many comments. It's really.
That's why we started the comment section a little early. Make sure we get to everybody.
So, what else have we got here?
Now, I brought up Soto.
Why doesn't everyone want to scout the kid? He plays the right way, hustles. His offense may be inconsistent, but let's root for the kid, not crucify him. Listen. I've said on multiple shows, it's not me hating on the kid. I try and be objective, and that's it. I mean, I think it's important that there needs to be some objectivity. You can. There's a million fan channels that will just fan, and that's cool. But I try and give you my honest observations, and it's not about hating the kid. It's just the honest observations. Yep. His OPS is among the worst among active shortstops last year. That's just a fact. That's not hating. That's just a fact. He does have one of the worst arms for a starting shortstop in the league. That's not hating. That's just a fact. So, but does that mean that I hate the kid? Not at all. I'm rooting for the kid. I want the kid to do really well. I just have to pinpoint certain things that he's not very good at, and that's what I try and be. I try and be as honest as possible, because, in a personal opinion,
bullshitting you guys doesn't serve
yeah,
us.
I don't see the point in bullshitting you guys. I can tell you that Anthony Volpe is going to hit 350 and be the best shortstop in the league, like some fans will want to give you. And hey, if you want to believe that, cool. But I'm sorry, I feel I would be doing you guys a disservice if I did that.
You know, just like how I've been saying, despite, you know, even with his flaws, I still think his ceiling has not been reached. I think there's still room for growth. You know, I just want to see it more because I do want to believe in the kid. You know, he of the prospects, you know, that spring, you know, where he made the team, he kind of won me over as a fan. I really enjoy watching him play.
Yeah, you're a
I
big
just
fan.
want to see him take the next step up because he still has flaws. Doesn't mean we've given up on him.
No, not at all. Yeah, that's fair.
I like this comment. I want to bring bring a little humor into it, Donald, if I may. Frank Rivera goes, the only one who's upset about that Cobalt pitch is Rafael Devers.
That's true. Devers does keep
so,
going.
You know, don't take him in fantasy because his home run count's going to go down. But yeah, Devers is very upset. And then our friend John the Beagle Dad gave up too many prospects for giving up Soto. I would do it again. Sorry.
Amen.
No regret.
I'd give up more. Yeah, I'm sorry.
Yes.
Soto.
Are we missing King right now? Yes. Did we miss him last year? Maybe. It's not like we traded Cole. You know, King, we weren't sure what he was going to be last year. You know, that's the problem this is the problem with trades. We want to move on from these prospects, and when they succeed somewhere else, what a stupid trade.
Yeah, you're right.
It was Juan Soto. Give them anything they wanted.
Hindsight's always 20/20.
Yeah.
Had we found out, say, let's just rewind to those negotiations, right? Say the Yankees held hard and fast on Mike King, and then allowed Soto to go elsewhere via trade, and then it was filtered down because someone would find out that the Yankees refused to trade and get Juan Soto because of Mike King. The fan base would have torched Yankee Stadium to the ground had they known they could have gotten Juan Soto, but they passed because of Mike King. I'm sorry, no disrespect to Mike King, but come on.
Yeah,
you make that trade 100 times out of 100. I love Mike King. I wish we had him right now, but we don't. But it's okay because we had someone that kind of carried us to a World Series. So hindsight's always 20/20.
Yeah.
The Soto trade was perfect. It was really good for both sides. The stuff that you look back to is like the Joey Gallo trade and even the Scott Efros trade and these trades that have been complete, utter busts. The Bader trade, other trades, the Josh Donaldson trade, total busts, right? That's the kind of stuff that you look back to going, I really wish that we didn't make those deals because we might be in a better spot right now. That's the kind of stuff where we've given up decent talent and completely fucked yourself. That is the kind of trades that you regret, like Joey Gallo, etc., etc. But heck, the Sonny Gray trade was extremely expensive, and he gave you nothing. And then we traded him for nothing, and now he's really good. So it's all a mess. It's all a mess. So that's the kind of stuff that's a mess. The Juan Soto trade was not a mess. That was a
but at the same time, Donald, and everybody, it's, you know, one of the things that really irks me a little bit is like Sonny Gray was a player that we were all screaming to get. He was their ace that we wanted on our staff, and because it didn't work out, it was a failure. You know, and Sonny Gray sometimes I think is a bad example because they tried giving him a pitch that he's never thrown before and just couldn't handle it.
That's true.
You
Yeah,
know,
they did help him.
like
That's true.
they forced that slider on him that he never liked to throw.
Did they do the same thing with Paxton?
Yep, Paxton was another one.
Yeah.
You know, and it's like after we missed out on Luis Castillo, what was everybody saying? Oh, go get Montas.
Oh, that was another one. My God.
Right. Go get Montas. Go. Well, who they? You know, we did get Montas, and it just didn't work out. You know, and that was
Well, he was. To be fair, Montas was injured when we
he
traded
came in. I was just about to say that's also a Cashman issue because he didn't do his due diligence on the trade. But these are players that fans want the Yankees to go get, and when they get them and it doesn't work out, or we trade a player that comes out to be better, then it was a bad trade. Well, how do you? So don't move anybody because it might not work for you.
That's true. I would still have made the Sonny Gray trade, but I wouldn't have made the Frankie Montas trade, considering he was injured when we acquired him, and that was a very costly trade. So that came back to bite us too. And we didn't even re-sign him on the cheap, so you could have gotten anything for him. There's a lot of decisions that just don't make sense.
And he's hurt again this year.
And he's hurt again this year, so they've screwed the pooch with that whole Frankie Montas stuff.
Yeah, it was Larry Rothschild, FJ. You're right. Larry Rothschild's the one. His name just left my head, but yeah, he's the one that screwed up Sonny Gray.
Yeah, he did. He did actually a lot of bad shit. To be fair, I'm glad we brought in Matt Blake. Matt Miles, it's a good comment here. Hal is more obsessed with salary cap than a winning team. This guy acts like he doesn't have a major revenue stream. It is sickening, completely. The Yankees will fill holes like a small market team. Exactly. You're getting a star for that. That's a great point. That's kind of where I'm at with it. He's obsessed with a salary cap that doesn't exist, and I think that I think he's a businessman. I think he sees that the finances are support as long as the Yankees are in a playoff hunt. He's happy. If the Yankees can make a playoff, whether it's a wild card and get knocked out, he doesn't care as long as they make the playoffs, and then you get some decent money that way, and they're competitive. And then they're just going to make the excuse that it's a crapshoot in the playoffs, and then keep it as it is. That's what it's about. He doesn't see the reason to speculate to accumulate, unless it's like a superstar with like an Aaron Judge where he paid what it required, so that's fine. Garrett Cole paid what was required, fine. Soto he was willing to go above and beyond for. I get all that. I think it's sort of like he makes one move just to kind of show that he's kind of he cares a little bit and to kind of pass off the fans a little bit. But when it comes to going the extra mile, he won't do because the finances don't support that. He wants to give profits to his family members and his grandkids and this person, that person, bondsmen, frickin' Yankee Stadium things, and that's it. That's what he wants to put the profits into. Other owners put their profits back into their team. Hal doesn't really do that. If you look at it, the Yankees are only spending about 40% of their income on the ball club, because that just shows how much of their crazy income that we make. We all make almost $1 billion a year. Well, he barely spends 40% of it, and while other organizations spend 50, 60, 70% of their.
There are also a bunch of teams that don't even spend up to 10%.
Well, that's another. I'm talking about the top end. I'm talking about the top end because Hal wants to pretend that he's part of the poor owners that can't do what the Dodgers are doing, and that's a lie. It's a complete lie. Now, am I expecting him to be a Steve Cohen that would literally put his hand in his own pocket to make the team amazing? No, I'm not expecting him to do that. But am I expecting him to maybe stop lying to us that there's a salary cap? That I think isn't too much of an unrealistic expectation.
Yeah, it's. I got one question. Yeah, they bring in crazy money, Doran. It really it's ridiculous.
Yeah, I think I
Um,
think they make
I
more.
have one. I have one to wrap it up. I have a question for the both of us to answer,
Okay.
and uh, the question is, as of like the way the Yankees look now, 17 days away from opening day. If you had to predict their record for the year, how do you think their season's going to finish?
Well, to be honest, bro, even if Garrett Cole wasn't gone for Tommy John, I said the Yankees would win about 88 games. I wasn't that high on the team this year. With Garrett Cole, Tommy John, I'm lowering my expectations even further. I have yet to see the Yankees finish below 500. So I'm not going to say that they're going to finish below 500 yet because I've never seen it. It's very likely, but I've not seen it. So I'll give them the benefit of the doubt.
Thank you for calling me old. Okay.
Yeah, I haven't personally seen it. So, in that case, I will give them the benefit of the doubt. I will say 84 wins, maybe 85 if they're incredibly lucky. I would say 84. I'm saying 84 wins for the Yankees.
I'll say between 80 and 85.
Yeah, so we're in the same wave.
All right. Now, I'm saying I'm going under 500 because I don't have faith in the GM to make the proper moves to fix this team. And if we're also willing to see how it's the younger kids are going to develop, there's going to be some growing pains. There's going to be some speed bumps in there that I don't see the Yankees going on like a 10-game win streak. So I think it's really going to hurt their season. Can opinions change as moves are made and players start to develop? Yeah, we could always come back to it, but as of right now, I could see the Yankees having their first season on the 500.
Salute Yosef. Keep getting back break. We sure do. FJ has an 85-77 record. Yeah, I think it's closer to where we're at. I remember 84 wins maybe. David says 75. FJ has 85. Dev somehow thinks we're winning 90 games.
I don't see it. I'm going to bring this. I think this is one we should close up with, and that's about our closing. All right, Doran, lucky you. Devin Williams, good chance gets traded at the deadline. Weaver as well. Hell no. Devin Williams is the whole reason that the Yankees changed their facial hair policy. They are not going to make such a critical change like that and then trade him away. I don't see it, and I'm not trying to mock your comment. It's a great comment, but that's my reaction to it.
That's actually true. That would be the funniest shit if we're completely out of contention and then we trade Williams.
If they trade him, the facial hair policy has to come back. Sorry. That policy is only. I see. If that was me, I'd be like, as long as you're on the team, we'll let them have it. As soon as you leave, the races come back. How's that for a negotiation tactic?
That would be. It'd almost be poetic the way this thing's going. So.
Yeah, right.
I could possibly see that because he is on the expiring contract. So,
yep. Listen, thank you, everybody. It's absolutely killed it in the chat. Thank you, all the subscribers. To Joel, appreciate you again for the gifted memberships, and Ken for re-upping on his. So appreciate the both of you for helping keep the lights on here, so it does not go unnoticed. So with that being said, just make sure you hit that like button. Hit that sub button if you want to join us in the chat on the next show. Make sure you also share this out with your friends, your family, even the strangers on the corner. Since the Pitchfork Chronicles, I'm Uncle Tats with Donald, wishing you all a great couple of days. We will be back Wednesday morning at 10. And as I always say, wear those pinstripes of pride and play hard.